Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Tuesday session, where we focus more on the stability side of yoga. Oh, kitty. But just to bring some attention to it, we're going to do a gentle class today, and we are going to do a little bit of release for the shoulders, especially shoulders if they are pulled forward and down, because tissue is in more of a protection response, or you've been in this positioning for a long time. You aren't going to have the same strength in the shoulder joint. And if you try to do strengthening, especially when you are raising the arm, if it's pulled forward and down, you're hitting that barrier of the bone real quick. And if you apply weight as well, it's kind of a recipe for injury, to be honest. You're crunching into soft tissue because you don't have that full range of motion and you don't have that full mobility. So I need to make that clear, especially when it comes to shoulders and building strength. Having the range of motion is really important. And it's a slow process, unfortunately. But it is what it is. So we are going to give a little bit of release because we are going to do a little bit of stability work for the shoulder, but we are going to get into a little bit of release first. And it's more of a giving the muscle a hug and giving it some support and giving it some, hey, I'm here for you, I got you, to allow it to release. Because if it's been in a protection response for a long time, it turns into a gripping pattern. Because that's what they're supposed to do. Nervous system's first job and body's first job is to secure, protect, support all day, every day, no breaks. It's built to keep us alive. So if you don't feel great in your body, that's not as big a priority as making sure that you stay alive. So come to your center. If you have a blanket or something, it's nicer to sit on just for the rotation of the pelvis to allow it to tilt forward a little bit. Taking a few deep, easy breaths, allowing breath to deepen into those lower ribs. I always crack up. People are like, I'm doing shoulders. I'm like, you don't have the mobility in the shoulder. You're just going bone on bone. What the heck are you doing? Have fun with it. Bringing some ease to the face just by bringing awareness there. Everybody talks about that Mona Lisa smile. I'm like, that's a shady smile. She was talking, she knew things about people. So whatever ease in the face feels good for you. I always say it's more of a smirk than anything. And then feeling into an intention for your practice today. As if it's true right now. All right, let's feel into what the body is feeling today. Go ahead and gently roll the shoulders. Go ahead, roll the head out. Again, we aren't going for stretch, especially when it comes to the head and neck. You don't want to pull on those really. We just want to see what things feel like. We're going for sensation, seeing a childlike curiosity about what the sensation is. Take a few breaths at center. And we'll start with a little bit of shoulder release first. So the platysma, the front fascial sheath, that starts at the jaw and ends around the collarbones, especially with computer work, especially when you're on devices. The forward head position shortens all this and makes it work hard to keep our heads up. So getting into this is very important. So just rubbing above and below the collarbone a little bit. At whatever pressure you like, at whatever pace you like. I like nice and slow. To free up those tissues a little bit. And release. Notice if the shoulder shifted just a little bit. Take a couple of deep, easy breaths. Just allow your body to enjoy it and realize that it is okay to be in this release. It's secure here. Those on computers or at a desk daily, this is a daily practice. Go ahead and get the opposite side. And I read from a physical therapist and massage therapist. They started doing this with all their patients that were having head, neck, shoulder, and upper back issues, and saw major improvements rather immediately with their clients. So again, if you want that mobility in the shoulder joint, loosening some of these tissues is vital. And release. Hopefully you feel a little bit more evened out. All right. So arm comes out to the side, palm faces behind you. Arm comes back behind your back, nice and low. We don't want sensation in the shoulder joint. So you're going to pin that tissue that is inside the collarbone. Then you're going to turn the head, and you can move it around a little bit too. So turning the head in the opposite direction. Again, we're going to ensure we have shoulder mobility before we put any weight on them. And go ahead and release. Again, notice if there's a difference in that shoulder. I always feel a bit like Quasimodo. I feel completely uneven. A few deep, easy breaths. Allow yourself to feel into that positioning of the shoulder now. With a deep, easy breath and easy face, letting body know it's okay to be here. And you may find release down the chain, down the hands too. So you can roll out the wrists if you like. All right, let's get the opposite side. Arm comes out to the side, palm facing back. Bring hand back behind you. No sensation in the shoulder joint. So whatever positioning feels good for you. Go ahead and pin that tissue inside of the collarbone and then turn away. And you can move head in different directions, so we're getting more of a range. And come on back. Take a moment to enjoy it. Roll out the wrists, gently roll out the head. Keyword gently. So again, we aren't going for stretch. I'm just allowing things to loosen up a little bit. Not by force. Things do not loosen up by force. And bring feet in front of you. Go ahead, twist to one side, lean back, exhale on the twist. Let's do each side. Often loosening this up will allow the spine to get some mobility as well. Take a couple deep breaths at center. We're going to get into the pecs a little bit too. Again, this tends to draw things forward and down. And if that shoulder positioning, if that shoulder is rolled forward, the shoulder doesn't have that mobility. That ulna, that upper arm is just it's going to hit resistance. It's going to hit the barrier of the bone. So it needs to be rolled back and down. So go ahead and roll those shoulders back and down just to see what that feels like. Finding that space across the collarbones. So massaging the pectoral muscles down from the collarbone and out from the sternum towards the armpit. And if you find a tender spot, you can go ahead and give it some love. And you may even find release in the neck and shoulders. So you can go ahead and move it however you need to. Release. Check out how that side feels. Again, notice if you feel a little lopsided. So prep work to be able to rebuild strength. Go ahead, get the opposite side. Often dominant side is going to feel denser and tighter. And I will say use either hands or tools that have some give that are softer, like the softer, well, not softer massage, the massage balls that are rubber and have some give. Because if you come at the body with hard things, and yes, sometimes we do need to come at them with harder tools, you will have it's a bit of a hangover. The muscle spindles in the body will sense the pressure and sense the unforgiving tool, and will tighten up because that's what they're supposed to do. Anytime they sense something coming at the body too hard, they're like, oh, okay, we need to protect the body. We need to bring more support here, tighten things up here because we have something coming at it hard and with force. And go ahead, release. Hopefully your shoulders feel somewhat more even. If not, you know which side you need to return to. So we're going to do a couple of movement assessments, if you will, just to see what your shoulders feel like today. So palms are facing forward, hands are beside you on the, well, generally we inhale up and exhale down, but if we do that, we're kind of fighting our rib cage. So inhale down, exhale up, so that the rib cage is kind of moving down and not expanding into the space you're trying to get to. Exhale up. See what your things feel like in your shoulders. Inhale down. And I know it's totally the opposite of what we're generally taught to do and what generally feels natural. But again, because of the expansion of the rib cage, you may not have as much mobility in that shoulder. So exhale up. Making sure there is no sensation in that shoulder joint other than the movement. Inhale down. So this is just an assessment. We're going to do front plane of motion. So palms are facing one another. Same thing, we're going to exhale up. Exhale up. Inhale down. Exhale up. Inhale down. Now, when you do this, especially that front plane of motion, make sure you aren't getting that full mobility from the spine. So spine stays right where it is. So it isn't an arching in the back to kind of get that shoulder up. It is solely shoulder. So exhale up. Making sure there's none of this going on. Inhale down. So if shoulders are feeling good, here, this is just a basic shoulder assessment. We are going to get a little bit of weight into the shoulders later, but we're going to get that entire core of the body. So that entire trunk of the body, starting from the pelvic floor coming up. So we're going to move it down to the ground so that we can do that. Have a blanket handy if you like. You may be using it. Come down side first, and then come on down to the back. Windshield wiper the knees a little bit. Release whatever else may be needing some release in the spine. Roll out ankles, wrists. Release your body in whatever way it needs to. Feeling what your contact points feel like, where body connects with the surface that is supporting you, and adjusting the shoulders accordingly. So making sure those shoulder blades, the tips of the shoulder blades aren't pointing into the ground. Go ahead and roll those shoulders back and down. So hopefully the tips of the shoulder blades are pointed more towards your feet. Deep, easy breaths. Allowing breath and face to find their ease here in a fully supported way. Okay, so I like taking something to put between my knees, or you can alternatively, you can use a strap around the legs right above the knees. to secure them. So you're either pushing out into the strap or pressing in to something between your knees, or you can do it isometrically, just making sure that knees are about hip width apart. This is why, especially for people with wider pelvises, Tadasana is more with your feet right underneath you as opposed to feet together. So play with that in your classes, in standing poses where they say feet together. Maybe not. Maybe your bone structure is not built that way. That cue is for people with very narrow hips. Take a couple deep, easy breaths. You are just kind of holding it gently there. And on the next breath, inhale, everything is nice and loose, finding space in the entirety of that sphere that is in the trunk of the body, including the pelvic floor. And on the exhale, that pelvic floor lifts and everything gets gently hugged in towards the spine. So that undercarriage is gently lifted and brought in towards the spine. Inhale, deep and spacious. Exhale, gently hug everything up and in. Everything from the pit of the abdomen. So even if you put your hands on your belly, you'll be able to feel it from everything belly button and below. That's all getting hugged up and in. So a lot of people engage their core, but they're squeezing out and down. As a recipe for hernias, injuries, prolapses, you name it. And even UTIs, because it'll put pressure on the urethra. Next breath, you're going to gently squeeze whatever is in between your legs, or if you're using a strap, pushing out into, or if you aren't using anything, gently isometrically squeezing everything in without allowing the knees to move much. So inhale, deep and spacious. Exhale, hug up and in, gently squeeze to your 60%. Inhale, release. Exhale, gently hug up and in. At your own pace, 5 more breaths. All right, take a couple cleansing breaths. Just everything deep and spacious, no hugging, no nothing. Face at ease. All right. So next thing we'll do, take a deep inhale, everything spacious. On the exhale, hug up and in, press weight into the feet, lift the pelvis. Making sure head stays neutral. So you don't want a whole lot of pressure in the neck. And on the next exhales, gently roll down vertebra by vertebra. Cleansing breath at the base. Next breath, inhale, spacious. Exhale, hug everything up and in, push on up. Take a deep breath. Next, exhale, gently roll down. Now we use a strap or some awareness or something between the legs so that knees don't splay out, because knees often have a tendency to splay out here when we do this. So we want to keep everything in alignment. A few more breaths at your own pace. That deep inhale at the base, exhaling, hugging up and in, pushing up. Deep inhale at the top. Exhaling vertebra by vertebra coming down. And you can windshield wiper the knees at any point. If you feel like your spine wants to release, go ahead and give it some movement. Training body and nervous system and musculature to support us in different ranges. And go ahead and release everything when you have finished your series. Windshield wiper the knees out. You can roll the ankles out. Check out what your hip mobility feels like, because this is stabilizing for that as well. And then just take a few breaths at center. Gentle, easy, spacious, deep. All right, we're going to roll over. We're going to do a couple things here, again, to see what's going on with the shoulder joint and to help build up that resilience and that mobility. So first thing that we'll do is more of a cobra. So head can come down, hands are going to be underneath the shoulders. And here you're going to gently roll those femurs in so that those upper leg bones roll in. So heels will naturally fall out. And then you can reposition your feet because you want that space in the sacrum. You want that space in the base of the spine. Otherwise, it's going to feel crunchy and it ain't going to feel good at all. Deep inhale. Exhale, release. So on your next breath, on your exhale, you're going to hug that pelvic floor up and in, that pit of the abdomen. Your spherical core is going to engage. And on the inhale, you're going to pull up. Taking breaths at your own pace. So head comes up, hands can pull back. So you're kind of lifting yourself, but you're also getting space in the spine. So if this has been challenging for you, this is a great way to actually get that spaciousness in the spine. If the musculature can't hold you. And bring it on down. Take a few cleansing breaths. And when you're ready, again, hugging that pelvic floor up and in on the exhales. And gently lifting, taking a few breaths, lift it. You really want to play with the strength and the back line of the body. You can take the pressure off the hands and even lift the feet if you like to. But that's advanced stuff. Go easy on yourselves. Again, honoring what things feel like in your shoulders, in your neck, in your back, in your spine. Go ahead and bring it on down. You can rest head on forearms. Gently waking things up. All right, y'all, come to forearms and knees. Making sure elbows are positioned underneath your shoulders, so not too tight in. And rolling, so instead of allowing things to kind of collapse in, allowing those collarbones to spread and kind of doing that internal rolling back and down of the shoulder blades. So you want an external rotation in the shoulder joint. So I'm going to show you. So this is internal rotation. This is external rotation. So isometrically, you're kind of rolling that out so that you have space in there. So you aren't crunching into soft tissue. If you're collapsing in, I would come to the floor and just do forearms with the body on the floor. So collarbones are spreading. Taking those supportive breaths, that hugging up and in on the exhales. And we're going to bring a little bit of movement into this. So pick whichever arm you like. Go ahead and bring that underneath the body. So it's going to come across the midline of the body. It's going to come underneath, palm up, and you're going to come into a slight twist. Take a couple breaths. So moving on the inhale. Exhale, you're going to support with the breath. Inhale, arm is going to come out and up. And maybe it's forward for you. Maybe your shoulder positioning feels better forward. But seeing what your twist would feel like. Exhale, come down, roll it underneath the body again. Take a cleansing breath. Your next exhale is supportive. Holding that, inhale, come on up. Exhale down. And come back to your center. Readjust the shoulders, space across the front of the collarbones. Let's do the opposite side. So bringing that arm underneath the body, crossing the midline, your palm up, go ahead and twist into it. Deep, spacious breath. On your next exhale, supportive breath. Inhale, come on up. Noticing if things feel differently for you in this side. Making sure you're keeping that stability in the arm that is on the ground. Exhale down, come up underneath the body. Cleansing breath. Supportive breath. Inhale, come on up. So you're building stability in that base, and you're also getting some space on the opposite side. You're also holding yourself up. Exhale, come on down. And come on back into child's pose. Now, if child's pose doesn't feel great for you in the legs, you can also always put something in between your upper and lower legs back behind you so you have some support. Things aren't feeling great in the shoulders, readjust the placement of your arms so you don't feel terrible here. You can come up a little bit, let the head hang, and get some spaciousness in the neck and shoulders and some release. Gently come on up, head comes up last. Seeing how you feel. Seeing how neck and shoulders are feeling. Hopefully not as crunchy and sticky and nasty as they might in other times. So we're going to get a little bit more stability in the shoulder. And you can do this seated. You can do this standing too, but it adds a lot to it as far as the stability, not just coming from the trunk of the body and the shoulder joint. So if we want to kind of focus it here. So seating, and what I like sitting on my heels for this, just because it gives me a little bit of extra space. So we're going to do 2 ranges of motion for the shoulder joint. So coming down, supporting yourself on one hand, if that's okay. If not, come down further and get more into that forearm. So whatever feels good. If wrist isn't feeling good, get into forearm. So inhale, exhale, supportive breath. Inhale, you can bring arm palm up and over. Taking a few easy breaths that way. So you are holding yourself up with your core. And by core, I mean that whole sphere of the trunk of the body. Now we're going to come on down, exhaling, arm comes down first, palm down, then body, then head. So we're going to get a couple planes of motion here. Take a deep breath, see how things feel for you. So we're getting spaciousness here, but we're also building stability and mobility in the shoulder joints. Again, come on down. Whatever feels good for you. If this doesn't feel good for you, this being on the hand, come down to the forearm. And yeah, you're gonna lift a little bit, so that's fine. So this time we're gonna sweep across the front of the body. So inhale, exhale, supportive breath. Inhale, sweeping around and then up. Head is neutral. So it isn't working the neck muscles too much. Can collapse if you want, but it doesn't necessarily feel great. It's too much stretch on the neck. And if you can, you're gently going to be pressing in with that base that you have, gently pushing in and allowing yourself to rotate so you can get that space. So not collapsing into that shoulder, spread through the collarbones. So you're having that external rotation in those shoulder joints. And sweep it on down back to center. Take a few deep, easy breaths. So generally you're gaining more strength in the neck and shoulder area and spaciousness in the rib cage. Why? Because of this. If this is tight here, and then you try to raise the shoulder, it is not going to go very far. But if you can release this, if you can have space here, then all of a sudden you have a lot more mobility in the shoulder joint. So getting that space here in the trunk is very important. Deep, easy breaths, seeing how things feel. Hopefully your shoulders feel okay. Let's do opposite side. If you are sitting on your bum, go ahead and switch your legs. So whichever one was in front now is now in back. So we get a little bit of evenness. We're living a little bit more evenly in our bodies. I do invite you that if you were on forearm on one side, be on forearm on the other side. And yes, it is a deeper stretch in the rib cage, but it can be beneficial. So arm comes down. Inhale. Exhale, supportive breath. Again, you have that isometric external rotation in the shoulder joint. Elbow is below the shoulder for the most part. It can be a little bit further out if you need to, but whatever feels good, you're in alignment. Exhale, supportive breath. Inhale, arm comes up and overhead. Side plane of motion. Head is neutral. Maintaining that hugged in breath. You can still find that space in the rib cage. But since we are holding ourselves up, maintaining that stability through your base. Exhale, arm comes down first, palm down, then body, then head coming up last. Take a couple deep, easy breaths. I always feel like the human lava lamp, getting my internal fluids coming back to an equilibrium. Hopefully everyone's shoulders are feeling okay. Go ahead, come on down again. Stable base, align yourself so that you feel good in your shoulder joint. This time we're going to sweep across. So cleansing breath. Next breath, exhale, becomes a supportive breath. Inhale, sweeping arm in front of you, across, up, and over. Head remains neutral. And again, pushing into that base that you have, so your full forearm, and getting almost a twist, but you're rotating so that you have that space through the front of the body. And you'll notice things kind of shift as far as the mobility is concerned. All right, next exhale, arm sweeps back down, head and body come up last. Deep, easy breaths. And yes, we are gaining strength and mobility in the trunk of the body. So you have your serratus and subserratus, which are shoulder blade, and you have your QLs, which are the whole side of the body. And you're getting those small muscles in between the rib cage too, and in between the ribs and the rib cage, those intercostals. So there's a lot going on, in addition to a bunch of other musculature. Go ahead and gently tap on the sternum just to help calm the nervous system. You can also rub alternatively if that feels more calming for you. Your vagus nerves are back here. Your thymus gland is back here. Take a few breaths at center, easy in the breath, easy in the face, just by bringing awareness. And then go ahead and set yourself up for Shavasana in whatever position feels good for you. Maybe it's, you can put, if you have low back, lumbar issues, you can put calves on a chair or couch, and that'll take the curve out of the lumbar spine to allow it to rest on something supportive. If you are just going to be on your back, please put something under your knees if you have access, to, again, to give the lumbar spine a little bit of ease. Go ahead and get comfy, cozy. Feeling how you're supported here. What does support feel like? How does body respond to that felt sensation of support? How do breath and face respond? That gentle going slack feeling. And even intention, how does it respond to that felt sensation of support? Finding that inner resource, that inner okayness, that inner ground, what's called the groundless ground. That space within that is always whole and unharmed. Whatever helps you to feel it. Maybe it's a memory or a place or a hope or a dream that you have. Wherever you feel most secure, most protected, most supported, and most at ease. Allowing yourself to rest here, to be nourished and recharged. Gently coming back. Feeling how you're supported here. Knowing you can access that sensation of being supported whenever you need it. It's yours. Bringing in some gentle movement to the body, gently rolling out wrists or ankles, or gently rocking head side to side, noticing how it's different when it's fully supported. If you like, you can stay right where you are, but shifting into whatever feels most comfortable for you right now. If you have a cat on, you stay right where you are. And if it feels good for you, bringing palms together at heart center, allowing the sides of the thumbs to rest on the sternum. Hug your cat instead. Thanking our bodies for all that they do for us. Thanking ourselves for taking time to give our bodies and our beings love and care. And I thank you for allowing me to share your practice with you today, everyone. Thank you. Om Shanti.